For over 1,000 years, a single crown has survived wars, revolutions, and scandals. It has seen kings rise and fall, queens defy, empires and generations carve their names into history. From the ashes of conquest to the halls of Buckingham Palace, the British monarchy stands not merely as a symbol of power, but of endurance, the living embodiment of a nation's heart and pride. But how did it all begin? How did one island forge an empire that ruled the seas and shaped the modern world? Prologue: The Roots of Power. The story of the British crown does not begin with a single coronation, but with 1,000 silent steps taken by unnamed kings, tribal chiefs, and ambitious dreamers beneath the swirling mists of ancient England. Before unity, before empire, these lands were fractured, cut into pieces by rivers and fears, separated by languages and rival gods. In the shadowed forests of Wessex, Mercia, and Northumbria, men gathered around flickering fires, drawing swords not for nations, but for survival and hope. Here, the early idea of kingship grew from something frail into a force that bound hundreds of warring tribes. Power meant protection. The ability to fend off northern raiders, to shelter the weak, and to guide the restless. Yet, it also meant the burden of expectational leader was not only the bravest warrior but the vessel of the people as faith and future. As Christianity began to whisper through ancient stones, the crown's spirit changed. Kings carved their names on parchment, forging alliances with bishops and priests, claiming to rule not just by blade, but by divine right. They built great halls, not merely for feasts, but for gathering the voices of their people and the prayers of their church. The idea emerged that the king was more than a mortal. He stood at the crossroads of heaven and earth, chosen not just to rule, but to lead the English people into a new age. In this crucible, a crown was imagined not of gold or jewels, but of unbreakable resolve and relentless ambition. As the age of conquest loomed on the horizon, the island's warriors and lawmakers readied themselves, setting the stage for legends that would tremble through centuries. The unification of England was not the work of a single generation, but a long and bloody symphony, triumph of endurance that would echo in every coronation to come. William the Conqueror and the birth of the crown when the future of England trembled on the edge of a sword. It was William, Duke of Normandy, who turned possibility into destiny. Born to ambition and hardship in the harsh courts of Normandy, William grew from the bastard to a cunning and unyielding leader, carefully consolidating power among fractious barons and distant kin. His early years foreshadowed a reign shaped by relentless strategy, steely resilience, and a vision for an unbroken crown. The death of Edward the Confessor in 1066 set the stage for a clash that would echo across centuries. William's resolve hardened into action as he claimed Edward had promised him the English throne, challenged only by Harold Godwin, the Anglo-Saxon king. William built a fleet as never before, crossing stormy seas with thousands of Norman, Breton, and Flemish soldiers. On October 14, 1066, at the Battle of Hastings, destiny shattered with the death of Harold and the rise of a conqueror. But victory was only the beginning. England's fields and cities resisted this new king, their spirit unbroken by a single battle. William's response was brutal and methodical. He crushed rebellions, swept through the north with the infamous harrying, and replaced the old English elite with loyal Norman nobility. Defensive castles rose from the earth. New lords spoke Norman French and obeyed only their king. The spiritual landscape shifted to William, reformed the church, and installed Norman clergy, binding the sacred to the sovereign. William's reign hammered out a new system of governance. Feudalism placed the monarch at its center. Law and land flowed downward from the crown, and taxes filled royal coffers with power. For the first time, England's king was more than a warrior. He was the architect of an enduring state. The Doomsday Book documented every person and acre, reflecting William's will to understand and master his new realm. William's victory was not just military, but institutional. He ended the last vestiges of Anglo-Saxon division, uniting England with a centralized authority, and carving the foundations for the monarchy's survival through centuries. Amid endless challenges, dynastic intrigue, continental wars, and rebellious sons, William's legacy set the mold for every future sovereign. Where once there were tribes, now stood a nation, held together by the enduring weight of a single crown. Let the story continue next, with vivid tales from the medieval monarchs, the struggle for power, and the making of royal traditions. Each section will reveal how the British crown shaped and was shaped by the ages. The Age of Queens, Elizabethan glory. Queen Elizabeth I ascended the English throne in 1558, inheriting a nation fractured by religious strife, financial ruin, and political uncertainty. Her reign, stretching over 4 decades until 1603, would come to be known as the Elizabethan era, a golden age that fused power, culture, an exploration into a tapestry unmatched in British history. Elizabeth's leadership was marked by intelligence, pragmatism, and a rare politicalist, fluent in several languages and surrounded by a trusted council. She restored financial stability to the crown through frugal policies, turning a bankrupt treasury into a surplus while establishing a strong, centralized government. Her creation of the Elizabethan religious settlement forged a moderate Protestant church that balanced tensions between Catholics and Protestants, easing an often volatile religious landscape. Under Elizabeth, England blossomed, culturally and politically. The arts flourished with the rise of Shakespeare and the golden glow of courtly literature and theater. This era of intellectual excitement mirrored her own sharp wit and charisma. Yet, it was England's naval power and global ambitions that defined much of Elizabeth's legacy. She endorsed explorers like Sir Francis Drake, whose circumnavigation of the globe and raids on Spanish treasure ships expanded England's influence across the seas. In 1588, she famously faced down the Spanish Armada, a fleet sent by King Philip II of Spain to conquer England. Against overwhelming odds, England's smaller, faster ships, backed by Elizabeth's indomitable spirit, defeated the Armada, cementing England's place as a formidable naval power. Elizabeth's reign embodied resilience through diplomacy and strategic vision, carefully balancing power at home and abroad. Her image as the Virgin Queen fueled an enduring mystique, symbolizing dedication to her country over personal ambition. The Elizabethan age was not just a period of stability but a launchpad for England's ascent as a global empire. The crises of kings, civil war, and restoration. The 17th century tore the crown from settled tradition and plunged England into its darkest turmoil. King Charles' reign became a battle not just for power but for the very soul of monarchy. Deeply believing in the divine right of kings, Charles resisted Parliament's growing demands for limits on royal authority. His conflicts over taxation, religion, and governance ignited the English Civil War in 1642, a brutal, devastating struggle between royalists, loyal to the king, and parliamentarian forces determined to check his power. At the heart of Parliament's military success was Oliver Cromwell, a fierce and charismatic commander who reshaped the English army into the formidable New Model Army. Cromwell's victories at Moston Moor, Naseby, and Preston crushed royalist hopes. In a historic and unprecedented act, Charles I was tried for treason, convicted, and executed in 1649, shaking the foundations of monarchy across Europe. For over a decade, England became a republic under Cromwell's rule as Lord Protector, wielding near-absolute authority but facing challenges from Ireland to Scotland. His reign was marked by military campaigns and controversial measures. Some celebrated as strong leadership, others condemned for harshness. The monarchy's exile ended in 1660 with the Restoration, when Charles II, son of the executed king, was invited back by Parliament to reclaim the throne. His return was surprisingly bloodless and conciliatory, promising cooperation with Parliament and religious tolerance, signaling a new era of monarchy redefined by negotiation and constitutional balance rather than absolute rule. This turbulent century forced a dramatic rebirth of kingship. The crown lost its unchecked power, but gained legitimacy through law and parliamentary consent, evolving toward a constitutional monarchy. The monarch's role became intertwined with Parliament. Authoritarian, enduring shift that shaped modern Britain's democratic evolution. The Age of Empire, the Victorians, and global dominion. Queen Victoria's reign from 1837 to 1901 marks one of the most transformative periods in British history. Known as the Victorian era, it was an age of imperial expansion, industrial innovation, and social reform that catapulted Britain to the height of global power and influence. Victoria ascended the throne at a time when the monarchy's reputation needed restoration, and she succeeded in reshaping it into a respected political institution, symbolizing stability and national pride. Throughout her 63-year reign, she worked closely with a series of prime ministers to balance royal influence with the rise of parliamentary democracy. Under her rule, the British Empire exploded in size, encompassing vast territories including India, Canada, Australia, and parts of Africa and the Caribbean. The empire not only brought wealth and resources but also spread British culture, technology, and governance worldwide. The Royal Navy's unmatched supremacy ensured Britain's dominance on the seas, protecting trade routes and projecting power. Domestically, the era was marked by rapid industrialization and urbanization. New factories, railways, and technologies fueled economic growth, but also created challenges such as overcrowded cities and poor working conditions. In response, Victoria's reign saw critical social reforms, child labor laws, public health improvements, expanded education, and movements toward women's rights began reshaping British society for the modern age. Culturally, Victorian Britain valued morality, family, and social responsibility, with lasting changes in literature, art, and public life. The monarchy itself modernized, moving into Buckingham Palace, adopting new technologies like gas lighting, and embracing traditions that still define royal protocol today. Queen Victoria's profound legacy is more than territorial expansion or industrial might. It is how the crown adapted to changing times, balancing tradition with progress, anchoring the British monarchy as a global symbol of endurance and evolving authority. The Windsors, the modern royal transformation. The House of Windsor, established in 1917 by King George V, amid wartime anti-German sentiment, marked the beginning of a new chapter in royal history. The family name change from the German Saxe-Coburg and Gotha to Windsor symbolized a rebranding rooted in national identity and resilience. Throughout the 20th century, the Windsors faced unprecedented challenges, from two world wars to the dissolution of the British Empire and intense public scrutiny. Against this backdrop, Queen Elizabeth II ascended the throne in 1952, eventually becoming Britain's longest reigning monarch. Her reign provided a steadying presence during times of monumental change, including decolonization and the evolution of the Commonwealth of Nations. Elizabeth II was a modernizer at heart. She embraced new technologies, making the monarchy accessible through televised events such as her coronation, the first ever broadcast globally. She worked tirelessly to maintain the monarchy's symbolic importance by adapting traditions, fostering public engagement, and promoting charity. Notable reforms under her reign included changes in succession laws to promote gender equality and updates in royal protocols to reflect contemporary values. The modern Windsors have also focused on bridging tradition with empathy. Recent heirs, like King Charles III and Prince William, emphasize environmentalism, social responsibility, and a smaller approach to royalty, seeking to maintain relevance in a rapidly changing world. Today, the British monarchy stands as a constitutional institution rooted in centuries of history, yet constantly evolving, a symbol of national unity, cultural heritage, and public service in the 21st century. Epilogue. The living crown, legacy and future. From fractured tribes to a global empire, from absolute rule to constitutional balance, the British monarchy is a tale of transformation and endurance. It is not merely a story of kings and queens, but a reflection of a nation's identity, its trials, triumphs, and evolution. Over 1,000 years, the crown's true power lies in its symbolism, unity, continuity, and stability. Through wars, revolutions, and societal shifts, the monarchy has adapted without losing its essence, a living institution, embodying British history and values. Today, the monarchy continues to navigate its place in a modern and diverse society. The Windsors embrace public service, transparency, and modernization while honoring the deep traditions that connect the present to the past. As new generations take the throne, the British crown remains a beacon of resilience and cultural heritage. It stands not only as a reminder of history's weight, but as a symbol of hope, a story still unfolding, as vibrant and relevant as ever.